What's up? What's up, family? This is your boy J.A., and we're ready to have a creative conversation with you today. Our topic all month has been from, I wrote this devotional called The Crown Still Fits. I know some of y'all are like, you wrote a devotional about a year ago. I know I'm not good with promoting. We're going to re release it and everything. A year ago, I wrote this book called Crown Still Fits. I know we always talk about women wear your crown, but we don't never talk about men wear your crown. And so I thought it was important to let men know and encourage men that it is okay to wear your crown as well, that your crown still fits. And so I wrote this devotional, and it is a 30-day devotional uh, journey of healing, identity, and strength for Black men. And so we talked with brother Eric about healing, and that was a powerful episode. And now I got my brother cousin. Uh, I'm gonna call him the doctor, Adrian Durry. He's ready to come on, but before he comes on, I really want to read. Last week, last show, I read at the end of the podcast, but this I want to read at the beginning, just a little excerpt. And so the scripture focus, the title of the show is You Are a Legacy Builder. You are a legacy builder. The scripture focus is Proverbs 13 and 22. And it says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Let me repeat that. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And the reflection reads like this. It says, you're not just living for yourself. You're building something for those who come after you. You know, I like to repeat, and I like to repeat that one. You are not just living for yourself. You're building something for those who come after you. Legacy isn't about money, it's about meaning. The way you heal matters, the way you love matters, the way you show up as a man of faith matters. Your decisions today plant seeds for generations. Even if you didn't inherit wholeness, you can pass it down. You are the generational curse breaker. Woo! That's good, J.A. You are the generational curse breaker. We're going to be talking about a legacy builder. And I'm going to bring my cousin on. Cuz.
What up? What up? What up, man?
It's good to have you on
Man,
talking
it's good
about
to
the
be.
legacy builder.
Yes, sir.
Before we get into our topic, I just want you to introduce yourself to the people.
Well, man, it's good to be back on the show,
Yes.
man. I know my cuz already brought me on, but for those of you who may not be familiar with who I am Adrian Durry, father, a leader, principal, educator, soon to be doctor,
Yes.
um, basketball coach, mentor, uh, girl dad supreme, plus my two bonus children now. So, just
Mm,
I'm a man of many things. But first and foremost, I'm a man of God. So
mm,
I let him kind of lead my steps and lead my daily actions. And I try to be a model, for others that what they see in front of them, is not just verbiage, but,
right.
lead it with action. So I'm grateful to be here today just to kind of be with my cousin, and then just kind of share with whoever's logging on with us today. Just have some conversation with
Yeah,
JA.
yeah. Yes. So I thought I really strategically picked the men for these segments. I picked my brother Eric for healing because me and him both have been, men. Even my cousin been through divorce and
Yeah,
know what that
yeah,
means.
yeah.
And so he came on and talked about healing. And I brought
Hmm.
my cousin on because I know that he's a legacy builder. And I know that our family has a rich legacy in civil rights and, you know, everything you could think of, just
Indeed.
professionalism, entrepreneurship. So I thought that it was important to bring him on. So the first thing, we have the same bloodline,
Yeah. Yeah.
different last names, but I
Hmm.
want to ask you, how has, our family shaped the man and father you are today?
Man, listen, it's it's at times it can be hard living up to
Mm,
what our bloodline has put out in front of us. Um,
yes.
I think the unique thing about our family and the great thing about our family is even with the power and legacy and the many things that our ancestors and those before us have been involved in, they allow us to still be unique in our own purpose. And I
Hmm.
think that's important, right? I think it's important that you allow people to find what they're great at or what they're good at, and you allow them to prosper that way, and you just support them. But I would say that the family has pretty much laid the blueprint for who we are, man. They've pretty much told us that we have no choice but to be great, if that makes sense. But great in your own way, right? Great in your own path, and just allowing God to really use you in a purposeful way. Allowing God to really utilize those things that He's instilled in you, so that they can shine to others, man. So our family has been a great influence on, just making sure that we understand that not every day is going to be our best day. We know we're not perfect by any stretch of the
No,
imagination, uh,
definitely.
but but we certainly strive to make every day better, right? We strive to
Right.
be better than we were the day before. So, but it's just good to have family that's kind of been out there and seen some things and can give you some advice and you know can give you some ways to move differently in certain aspects. But our family, man, I can't say enough. I can't say enough about who they are and what they are and what they mean to us and what
Yes,
they mean to me. But I would say we are definitely fortunate to be a part of that bloodline for sure.
definitely. And it's something I want to say, for me personally, I probably took for granted. Um,
Mm,
I know that my family, my grandma is always like, you know, entrenched in us, you better know your Turner name and know where you come from.
hmm,
And when
hmm.
I was younger, I think I probably was like, oh, grandma, she don't know what she talking about.
Yeah.
But when I really started consistently coming, as we got reunion coming and coming to the reunion and just really seeing the richer legacy that we had, it really kind of it opened my eyes. And I think the one thing I want to segue into is, did we even did we even call it legacy, or it was just something that was normal? There was something that we just lived out. I don't know if we really called it legacy back then, or they called
Hmm,
it legacy.
hmm.
I think they were just striving to do the best they can and just be the best people they can. So I don't
Yeah,
know if they, yeah.
yeah. I think that we've kind of developed the terminology of legacy, as we move through years and move through trials and tribulations and celebrations and all of those good things. But I just think we just internally as people, man, I think we just reach for the stars, man.
Yeah,
We don't have any limitations, right? We don't believe that this is the box that we're stuck in. Like
right.
we're
Yeah.
always, we're always looking for ways to be better, man. And
Yes.
here's the funny thing, and I'm gonna double back on you with this, because I have this conversation quite often with coworkers and colleagues and things like that, and they ask me every year, like, "Hey, like, man, Adrian, you don't really travel much. Like, you don't take a lot of vacations. Like, I know your job is demanding, but you don't do nothing." I said, "But the one thing that I do is I go to that family reunion." They was like, "Wait a minute. So you all have
Yeah.
family reunion every year?" I'm like, "Yeah, every year." And to your point, like it is a blessing, and it is something that a lot of people take for granted because there are a lot of people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis where they haven't had a reunion in 10 years, 20 years.
Right,
And
right.
we talking about having one every year where we get to
Every
come together.
year.
So I think that in its own right is a celebration about, kind of who we are as a family and what we stand on.
Yeah, and it is just I think it's more impactful, I think, for me now, even just as I get older, it's just so more impactful that it's like I can't miss reunion. I know it was a couple years where the
Yeah.
girls they had school, and so I had to
Mhm.
miss. And even
Mhm.
them, they're like, "Oh man, I don't want." Man, it's just a good time. It's a good, powerful 3 days just to
Yeah.
catch up with one another, and just even just my friend Sharice would say,
Mhm.
you know, you need to cherish what you have. You need to really,
Absolutely.
really cherish what you have in your family. Now she's her I'm gonna shout it out. Her favorite family member is the Dr. Lee.
Uh-huh.
She loves Lily, and it's just like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we we have these family members that just marks, you know what I mean, just makes such an impact.
Mhm.
She's just met him like once,
Yeah.
and he's made that impact, and that's just like our entire family. We just have that impact. Like we're in different industries, but we have
Mhm.
that impact. And I think another reason why I picked you because you're a principal,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and you have the tough task, but also the amazing opportunity to not only shape young people's lives, but to really shape and break, and that's just how I feel, generational curses
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
lives. Can you speak to that fact of have you always wanted to be a principal and always wanted to be in education, and like how did that first manifest for you?
Yeah, man. My journey to education is pretty unique. I might have shared it a few times before. I know we've talked about it. But man, the only people who really saw that I was going to be an educator at some point were my high school teachers, my high school coaches, some of our family. But man, when I went away to Florida A&M, man, I was going to study forensic psychology. I was hell bent on.
Wow.
I said I'm finna learn this. I'm finna learn this side of it. So I can go to the FBI, be a profiler. That's what I want to do with my life. And I ended up doing some mentorship and things down there in the high schools, man. And immediately when I got in there, I just noticed like there was no representation for our kids, man. They don't, nobody in front of them that was a male, black, that looked like them, that could
Hmm.
show them something different outside of what they see on social media and rappers and all this other stuff. So I immediately knew, like, okay, this is different. This feels different. And doing that for a couple years and then moving back here to Chicago and starting in the education system as a special ed teacher,
Hmm.
assistant teacher, and working with those students and working with the community and being in Inglewood. And Inglewood is one of our rougher areas, and just seeing, just some of the trials and some of the difficulties that the students and their families are going through, and just trying to be a light, in the midst of some darkness, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that, and once I got back, man, that pretty much turned my whole thing, because I was initially just kind of waiting. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and work in the schools until the FBI called me for my test and all this other stuff. And man, I ended up coming back, and education just, or should I say, God said, hey, man, I don't know what you thought, but this is what you're getting ready to do. So I'm getting ready to put you in the fire. I'm getting ready to put you in some places that a lot of people are not going to go to. And they need you, and it's going to be some work, and you're going to have to build some relationships and build some things and help people to see, man. But those kids, man, my first set of kids, I can't tell you enough, man. Like, that neighborhood was rough, but they looked out for me, like,
Mm.
legitly. Like, when I parked my car, they like, hey, like, we got you. Like, we know what you drive. Ain't nobody gonna touch your car. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing to you. Nobody gonna roll up on you. Nothing. Like, and they meant it. Like, and they just knew who I was genuinely as a person. So we kind of connected that way. And from that point, man, I went back to school to get my first master's
Mm.
and teaching. Then I went back again and got my master's in administration. and now I'm in my last year of my doctoral program. I should be finished April of
That's good.
2027, man. So
Yes.
this journey, man, is really taking its own thing. But I have to say that every step of the way, I realized just how much I was meant to be in this field, because I've transformed some lives that you know outside looking in, you would have been like, yeah, there's no hope. Um, I've talked some kids out of the jail of the grave
Mm,
conversation. Literally some kids that bang, that gave it up and was like, hey, like I could do something better.
mm.
Um, kids who never thought about
Powerful.
going to kids who never thought about going to college. Like, man, wait a minute, you got how many degrees, Mr. Durry? Man, I could do that. Like I could do that. And I'm like, you
Yes.
can, So
Yeah.
it's really just about letting, I talked a little bit earlier about, just letting my actions really lead, right? Letting my actions lead who I am. Like I could talk about these things all day, but I want people to see what it means to really be purposeful, and let God kind of use you. So yeah.
And I think that's really shaped me because I work at an alternative school as a youth
Yeah.
engagement
Yeah.
specialist.
Yeah.
And my friend was, before I got the job, she was just saying like there's no African American males really in this field. And she was like, I think you would be an asset. And if anybody knows me, I'm not the, rah rah or scream type.
Hmm.
I'm kind of
Hmm.
laid back, but it's like they respect it. And when I first got into the field, I'm going into my third year in this August. When I first got into the field, they were like, well, are you going to stay?
Hmm.
They said a lot of people, you know what I mean, have taken this job. And it's not for everybody. I'm talking about
Yeah.
kids throwing chairs who didn't call
Yeah.
it the N word
Yeah.
and the B word
Hmm.
and whatever
Hmm.
else word. So it's not for everybody, but they were like, are you really going to stay? And I could say, I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
And, it's a high turnover rate, especially in the alternative school. And I could say that I really feel good because one of the first students who asked me that, she graduated, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, this
Yeah.
past, year. And so I'm just,
Hmm.
proud of that. And now I'm working at a summer camp. Of course, people are like, well, why is you
Yeah.
want to be working with the kids?
Right.
Work with them all year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is something about, having that impact on those kids that it just
Hmm.
really makes it worthwhile. Now, I ain't gonna say don't get on my nerves. And I want to strangle and take them
Yeah.
to the back room.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just something about making that impact on the
Yeah.
kids. And it just really segues to I call this the fatherhood edition. And we are
Hmm.
both fathers.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask the question, um, when did fatherhood shift from something that happened to you
Mm.
to something you became intentional about?
I would say as soon as them babies came out that womb, right? I was, pretty much present from the time they were, conceived to the time they came, right? And there's a different reality when you see this person, come out and take their first breath, or they blink, or they
Mm,
cry, and you're just like, man, I have to now really be intentional about my energy, my time, who I am and what I represent, right? Um, because those little ones, man, they are so impressionable, and every little thing matters. I think that's one thing that I realized right off the back, that every little thing matters. Like even the things that we consider to be small are big to them. Um, you know, just coloring at the table, going to the park. Like even now as they're older, how was your day? How can I support you? How can I love you better? What do you need from me? Like just having, as they get older, those conversations look a little differently, but everything is purposeful. So, I think, like I said, as soon as I saw that living being come out, I realized that, and it wasn't like I wasn't a man of purpose or a man who, lived the right way. But when those kids come, it just changes your whole dynamic of who you are, because they really do guide, your day to day steps. Because the things that you do, you're not only trying to model for them what success looks like, right? But you're also trying to make sure that they know that anything is achievable and attainable. And you have the support system and the love around you, to make that happen.
Mm. So, what's the hardest thing about being the father you want to be that nobody really talks about?
Ooh, man. What's funny is I just made a post the other day, for Father's Day, just a general post, just kind of talking about, the elements of being a father, the coming home and while all these lights on, y'all don't pay no bills, cut these lights off. The, the the evolution of them trying to ask you where you going. Where you going? What you got to do today? Like, why you got to do that, right? Um, but I would say for me, the hardest thing has been because my position and my job is so demanding. The hardest thing has been making sure that I balance um, my time and my energy with my kids, right? And
Mm.
again, they're of age where they understand, like, man, daddy is pretty much 24/7. Like he pretty much like a doctor. Like he on call. If the building burning, they gonna call me in the middle of the night, right? If somebody break in, they gonna call me right. So it's they kind of come to that realization, but I also have to move cautiously with that because I don't ever want them to think just because that's what my demand is that they don't come first,
Mm.
right? And the luxury of the last couple years of being able to come a little closer to home, in terms of where I've worked in my district and my building, and be more flexible. Be more flexible with them. Be able to go to certain events. They able to come to the building with me and hang out. Whereas I was driving an hour some change every day. So if something happened, it's gonna take me an hour to get to them. Whereas now it only takes me 20 minutes, right? So the balance of that was really the most difficult thing that I've had to kind of figure out. And I think we're in a really, really good place right now. I think there's still room for me to be better, right? For me to be better in some aspects and hit that cutoff switch and say, hey, I can't do it. I'm with them. This is what I got to focus
Mm.
on. But I will say it's definitely, through the years, it's gotten so much better, so much better.
Mm. So our family gave us something, either spoken or unspoken, that we carry. What's one thing you refuse to let die in your generation, to your generation?
Mm, 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 mm.
Mm.
I would say the one thing that I refuse to let die has to be faith,
Mm.
right? Um,
Right.
because I think the older you get,
Mm.
the more seasoned you get in life, you realize that there are a lot of things that minus faith, we'd be in trouble, right?
Right.
Because every day is its own day, right? And we really don't know what's really in front of us, and what we really have to tackle. So having that strong faith, and having that strong understanding of what that really means, and faith is not when it's needed,
Mm.
right?
Right.
Faith is there because it's a part of what you are,
Wow.
who you are, and what you believe. We don't lean on faith because, oh, I need faith. I need it. No, it's a little bit more than need, because the life that we have and the life that we live, that faith part, man, when times get tough and finances and um any every other thing that you could think of. When those things come into play, man, faith is what's going to take you through or bring you through. So that's the one thing that, regardless of what's going on, that I make sure that you know, that faith has to remain
Hmm.
number one.
Yeah, that's. I was if I could choose anything, that would be it too. More than the success,
Yeah.
of the businesses, or even just the legacy name. Faith is the one thing that I really, really hold on to, and it's just like it's funny. Like every year at reunion, we close out singing our family song,
Mm-hmm.
"Hold to God's unchanging
Unchanging
hand."
hand. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
no matter, I know family might be watching. No matter if we wanted to listen to the sermon or not, is one thing that remains. We gonna be there for that closeout, hold
Absolutely.
to God's unchanging hand, because
Absolutely.
faith is so important. And I love how we, I want to the word I want to say, intermingle faith in our
Mm.
reunion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like it's everywhere. Like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
unassuming, the faith is there. We see we feel it, and it's just like, even just like all the times, when cousin Emerson will pull out the family tree, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, ooh, wow. It's just like
Yeah.
every year, it's like I think I've known something or learned something, and you just get that. And like you said, as you get older, it's just like wow. And I'm reminded because my daughter Bridget, she it was an ancestry.com. It was like something free, and
Mm.
she was just telling me, even just the legacy she was finding, my grandmother and who her brothers was, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even just to the point of who, what slave owners owned and family members. It's like, and, and it's like we really like been this far through faith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Faith is just really the only thing that has brought us this far. Now, we talked about your school and you being a principal.
Mm-hmm.
As a principal, you walk into a building every day full of young people who might
Yeah.
not have what we had at home.
Mm.
How intentional are you about that weight?
Uh, Let me just say this. It's a heavyweight. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it and tell you anything different.
Mm,
I'm always a believer in transparency. And the transparency of the matter is that, for as many great things come out of being an educator and molding and changing lives, there's a lot of heavy nights, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of,
mm,
it drains you. And I think, and let me preface it this way. I think when when educators are purposeful and intentional, it drains them.
mm.
If they're in it just for the free holidays and the breaks in the summer and the paychecks, then it's like, I don't really, they gonna do what they gonna do. I don't care whether they good or not. Right. But when you're really purposeful, it takes a lot out of you.
Yes.
And I consider all of my kids to be my babies, right? And what I mean by that is those students that I have an opportunity to serve. And I think it's um, very important that I use that terminology,
Yes.
because some people might say, "Well, you the principal, man. They gonna do what you tell them to do, and the staff supposed to do what you tell them to do, and that's just how it rolls." But in all reality, I'm serving them to be better,
Mm.
right? Like, I'm
Mm.
even in my modeling, I'm being of service. I'm of servitude because I need them to know, like, despite what you may hear around you, despite what the environment around you says, despite what some of those closest to you may say, and they're extremely dysfunctional, right? There is somebody who has seen a lot,
Mm.
and there is somebody who has been there in some aspects, right? I haven't had to, be father of my sister at 5, right? Because mom
Right.
was working, right? I have had to do things like that, but um, I have had to be in other situations, right? And I need them to know, like, just because you reach a certain pinnacle in your life doesn't mean that you haven't had things that you've had to overcome yourself. Um, so servitude, man, is real big for me. I need them to know that I care about them like they're my own. So I'm extremely tough on my staff in general, um, because I believe that if we are brought into a place to serve, and that's our purpose of being there, that we should want the very best for the students we serve. And if you're not bringing that, then you can't work for me. This can't be a place for you. And I'm not saying that we don't, as adults, have our own lives outside of our profession, because we do. There are days where, brother, I can walk in that building and I only got 60% that day. But guess what them kids and staff gonna get? 60%. They're gonna get everything I got when I walk in. So every day is not 100%. So I encourage my kids to do the same thing. I'm like, hey man, listen, I know today you ain't feeling it. You probably like, man, I'm here, but I don't really want to be here. But since you here, I want you to acknowledge the blessing that you have of being here. You got a roof over you. You in a safe space. You get lunch. You get breakfast. Right. You get people that can love on you, and that's what I try to, you know, admonish in them, and how I serve. So that would be the biggest thing with those kids on a day-to-day basis.
I love that you use the word servant or serve because I worked in the mental health field with, mentally challenged adults. And one thing they would try to change is using the word client versus people we serve.
Mm,
And when I first got in the field, I'm like, well, they clients, you know what I'm saying? But as I began to get ingrained and, incorporated with that community, I
hmm
realized it was more important to recognize them as people we serve. And it's important, especially as men of God, that we come in with a servant's heart, I think.
hmm
And
hmm
like you said, we're adults. We can tell these kids what to do and say, you got to listen to me. But I think it's more important that we're serving and we're serving with purpose.
hmm
Like you said, sometimes everybody in our field ain't doing it to be a servant.
No.
And like you said, and I make it my point to be very, very intentional, especially, as a black male. I hear the N word a lot,
hmm
and it hurts my heart. But I try my best. The one thing they'll say about, hey, Mister, hey, he don't, I ain't never heard no foul language, or I ain't never. And then
hmm
they also know if I'm raising my voice, it's a
It's warranted, right? Right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that just is so important, and I just think that word servant. I don't think we hear that a lot, especially in that education field. It's like, hey, I got this master's or I got this doctorate, so you got to listen to me, and really,
hmm
they don't.
Not at all.
So I think it's just very important that we approach this from a servant's heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a difference between having a title and using your authority to speak life.
hmm
How do you use the position of principal to break generational cycles in your students? Oof.
Ooh, that's good. That's real good. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that title piece. I think you know, in the general sense of things, people let titles determine what their impact is, right? Me, I let my purpose determine what my impact is.
That's
Um,
good. That's
uh,
good.
so breaking those generational curses are really just about transparency. It's about, listen, these are some of the things that we've endured as a people. These are some of the things that we're enduring right now in your community. Some of the things that you're enduring right now as a young man or young woman that's becoming a woman or a man, right? Um, and we have to talk about how we can strategically put ourselves in the best position to be successful in life, right? And success in life is not, I'm not just talking about financially, right? Success in life, I'm talking about what is it that if you're an older sibling, what is it that you want from your younger siblings?
Mm,
What do you want them to take from you that would help them be better,
wow.
right? If you don't really have that person, right, in your immediate family that you look up to, who do you have that you look up to? And what sets them apart? What makes you want to look up to them? How do you know that the person you're looking up to is successful? Again, take money away. How do you know that person is successful? What is it about that person that you like, man, I just really, you know, I just really want to embody what him or her does. And those generational curses again, man. I think for a long time, and I'm gonna throw this in here too, therapy.
Mm,
For a long
mm-hmm.
time, the African American community, the Black community, however they want to phrase it, has been against therapy. Oh, I don't do therapy. I ain't talking to nobody about my problems. I got it handled. It's all good. Listen, we're in a different time and a different space. And I'm gonna have to give kudos to those who have understood what that is, right? Have to give kudos to those who know the impact and the purpose of how therapy can pretty much transform where you are. If you're in a not so good place, it could take you out of there if you use it with the right intention. And the right intention, the right intention of that therapy is really just being honest about where you are. And it's the same way with having conversations with students. Let's be honest about where you are. You're not an AB student. It's okay, right?
Right.
It's okay. We're
Right.
not gonna we're not gonna act like you are. But here's what we're gonna do. Since we know that's the case, but you want to be better, we're gonna put some things in place to make you be better. And we're gonna put this together, right? We're going to plan this together. It's not gonna be me that's going to determine this is what this looks like because I can give you the blueprint, but unless you're willing to do it, it's never going to work, which is why it's the same way with therapy. Unless you're willing to go about it the right way, it's never going to be effective. So breaking those curses, man, it comes with a lot of genuine conversation, comes with a lot of love, comes with a lot of transparency, and then it comes with developing a plan of action of how you're going to, kind of turn the page and be better.
Mm, that's good. Honesty. There you go. And I think, and I wanted to do this Father's, Day edition because sometimes as men, we don't want to show the vulnerable side. We always, not always, but sometimes we hold things in until it comes to a place where explosion happen.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, like you said, in our community, that therapy word must mean, oh, he must be crazy, or I don't need no therapy. I'm fine by myself. Even
hmm
and I'm gonna go here. Even in our faith based communities,
mm
we
hmm
said, "Well, I got prayer and I got God, and that
right,
is good."
hmm
And God gives you wisdom to go make that appointment to get therapy.
absolutely, absolutely,
You talked about a blueprint, and that's my favorite word. It's one of my favorite words is
mm
blueprint. What do you say to a young man who has no blueprint, no father in the home, no
yeah.
model of legacy? How do you become that for him without overstepping?
So I think the first thing is you have to develop a relationship, right? And in that development, then you can have some more strategic or intentional conversations about what that young man needs. Um, And a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis, really, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, is since I've not been in the classroom anymore, like a lot of what I do when we talk about relationship building is building character. It's building, you know, building up young men and young women. Because, you know, outside of the educational side or the academic side, like the life that we encounter and the things that we're gonna have to deal with, we need to know how to maneuver, man. Right? Like we're not gonna sit here and act like, you know, we don't have to make tough decisions at times. We know the difference between right and wrong, but we also know there's a thing called influence,
Mm,
right? And if we don't have enough inner inner strength, inner confidence, then those influences will determine how we move, right? So um, when you talk about, you know, how do you build that blueprint with that young man, my first and foremost thing is I'm going to build a relationship, but I'm not going to build it through my words, right? I'm going to tell you, listen, you have the ability to do this. You have the ability to be better than you are. You have the ability to make an impact. Like, look how many other students look at what you do and model what you do on a day-to-day basis. You don't even
mm-hmm.
see the leadership qualities in yourself because you don't have that confidence level. You don't have that self-awareness to know how impactful you can be. So look at what I do on a day-to-day. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. This is so minute, but it's gonna make sense when I say this. One of my basic rules for my young men in my school is they have to have their shirts tucked in.
Mm,
One parent asked me one time, she said, Principal Durry, I know this your school, you make your own rules. I don't understand what the big deal is about boys having their shirts tucked in and why the girls don't. I said, ma'am, let me tell you like this. I'm building leaders and I'm building men. If a young man can tuck his shirt in every day without complaining, that lets me know that that young man has an understanding of being disciplined and discipled,
mm. That's
right?
good. That's
The
good.
the young man understands the purpose of order, understands the purpose of structure, understands the purpose of discipline. If you have those three things, there's really not anything in life that you're not going to be able to accomplish and do it successfully. So as small as tucking that shirt in is on a day-to-day basis, is teaching them, hey, I want to represent myself in the right way. I don't want people to see me as a slop. I
Mm,
want people to see me as somebody who cares about their appearance. I want somebody that sees me as somebody who understands what it means to be disciplined in my day-to-day purpose in my life, right? So those are little things that I do with my young men to build blueprints. And again, they're small, but they will be bigger in the grand scheme of things because they understand why it matters.
that's good. That's so good. So we title this "The Crown Still Fits." What does that mean to you personally as a father and a leader?
You know, it means that my job is never done, if we're being honest, right? Um, they say heavy is the head that wears the crown. It means that, you know, again, not perfect, but it means that my day to day has to model what it is I'm teaching and preaching, right? I can't, I can't be a hypocrite. There are a lot of people in life who don't care whether they're hypocrites or not. That can't be me, right? Because again, in my purpose, in my life, home life and work life, I impact a large amount of people. And if I'm going to be hypocritical in how I move, then I'm not doing anything worth preparing our future for what this is. right? Because at some point, again, as we said earlier, man, we getting old, brother. We are getting old. We still now look, we still look good though,
We
but we
still
getting
look
old.
we getting old.
But at some point, the kids that we're mentoring and modeling and doing things with, they're gonna be the ones to take over these certain things. They're gonna be our doctors, our nurses. They're gonna be our, future educators. They're gonna be our future lawyers, right? And I think it matters that we are intentional and that we honestly call a spade,
Mm,
right? So I think it matters that when we're going in our day-to-day life, and again, it's not about perfection, but it is about what is my impact? What is my purpose and what does that look like? Am I really serving in a way
mm,
that God has prepared me to serve? And if the
mm.
answer is no, then that crown you got on is just for show. So the crown got to fit in your daily walk. So that crown pretty much helps me to restabilize. It helps me to recenter myself when things don't quite go the way I need it to go. It brings me back into where I need to be. It's that self-awareness and absolutely self-evaluation, right? It brings me back to, okay, I know what my purpose is. Let's make sure that, not only am I not disappointing those who look up to me and look after me, but let's make sure that I don't disappoint the man above who has given me this gift and given me this assignment,
Mm,
and then make sure I do it the right way.
that's so that's good. That is good. So what's the difference between leaving a legacy and building a legacy?
Mm. So the building part of it is a day-to-day thing. The building part of it is what systems, what things do you have in place, for your family, for your children? What are some of those conversations that need to take place on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis to talk about what our legacy is, right? Again, what our legacy is, not mine. Even though I'm building it,
Mm,
even though I'm building it, we're technically building this legacy together, right?
mm,
Because when I'm leaving it, when I'm gone, that's the leaving part. You have to take over. You have to continue to push that legacy forward. You have to continue to be the model of what we said our legacy was going to be as a family, right? This is what we said we're about. So now it's all of us have a part in that. We're 100% committed to this is what our legacy is. And when God decides that it's time for one of us to go, there's no there's no gap. There's no drop off because the legacy has been built from the time we decided to talk about what the legacy looks like and put it into play.
mm. That's good. So you're a legacy builder at home and at school. Like, how do you keep from those two from competing with each other?
Yeah, that's again, I think the key word there is boundaries. And as easy as it is to say boundaries, it's boundaries with intentions, right? Because there is a different legacy that I have at home base, and there's a different legacy that I have in my career field. From my home base, it's about understanding what my children need, understanding what my fiance needs, understanding you know what are components of their life that I need to be of more service to get them to where they need to be, right? um so you have your realm, and that realm of home life, you know we know what that is, and then that home life can impact a whole lot of other things, right? I can't. And here's the crazy thing for me when we talk about the boundaries of separating those two legacies. I can't be the best principal Dury without being the best daddy Dury or husband Dury, right? Like I can't. I don't in the way that I move and the way my life is, like I can't have a home that's not built and strong in foundation and go out here and preach to teachers and students and staff, right?
Right,
What
right,
this supposed to look like, right?
right.
If I don't have a strong legacy in my house, how am I supposed to go out here and be a legacy builder in education in my career field? Right. So those two things matter, to me. They kind of coincide with each other, one more than the other, to be honest. Because my family is always going to be family, right? If there's one thing, like I say, we always put God. God is the head. God comes before nothing to nobody. But if anything's coming after that, it's family,
Right. Your
right?
first ministry.
At first, your first ministry is your family. As a man of God, as a man, you are equipped and you are pretty much told by God that you take care of your family. You make sure your
Mm,
family is in line. You do what you need to do for your family, and everything else will fall in line. But you
mm,
don't let your family slip off for the sake of building somebody else's legacy that they're not going to have any impact once you're gone. Your family's going to have that impact. So you better build that legacy at home first before you talk about building a legacy outside.
that's so good. So as we close it out, I got two final questions for you. If every father listening today only took one thing from the conversation, what do you want that to be?
Mm. If if they could take one thing, I would say, if I could sum it up, I would say cherish.
Mm,
Cherish the opportunities you have to lead purposefully. Cherish the opportunities you have with your children and
hmm
those moments. Um, cherish. Hmm, I'm trying to figure out the word how to put this in a good way, but um, and I don't even want to use this word because it's really not this word because it's not a burden. But I would say cherish what's being put on your shoulders because you have to know that if it's being put there, it's not being put there because you can't handle it. It's being put there because you need to handle it,
mm.
right? It's being put there because if you don't do it, who else is going to do it? So I would say cherish all that encompasses being a father, being a leader, being, just cherish these moments because once they're gone, they're gone. And you never want to look back and say, I should have, or I wish I did this differently when you have the opportunity to do so.
That's good. And the last question: what do you want your children and your students to say about you when you're no longer in the room?
Hmm. I would want them to say that, he was a man who uh, loved endlessly. He was a man who cultivated me and who I am. And then more importantly, or most importantly, he was a man that wasn't afraid to talk about how God leads his life. He was a man who wasn't afraid to, you know, give honor to God for granting him the opportunity to be a father, granting him the opportunity to make an impact on communities and students and be break generational curses, right? Because God didn't have to choose me.
Mm,
He could have
mm.
chose anybody that he wanted to, but he said, Adrian, like, I see who you are. I see how you move. I see how you live. I see how you talk, but I see what your actions are. And I think that, you are somebody that I trust to lead my purpose and my plan.
That's so good. Woo, this has been an amazing conversation. I want to thank my brother, my cousin for coming on with me today. And of course, no, this won't be the last
Absolutely
thing.
not. You know that.
And, I just want to thank you for always coming through, always
Yes, sir.
dropping those nuggets. And I just, woo, this was powerful.
This was.
this
This was
is
good.
this is this was a good conversation and a
Yeah.
much needed conversation. And I know that I talked about it in the beginning, but I just want to leave on this, the legacy builder. You are a legacy builder. You're not just living for yourself, you're building something for those who come after you. Legacy isn't just about money, it's about meaning. The way you heal matters, the way you love matters, the way you show up as a man of faith matters. We talked about that. Your decisions today plant seeds for your generation. Even if you didn't inherit wholeness, you can pass it down. I want to repeat that. Even if you didn't inherit wholeness, you can pass it down.
Mm-hmm.
You are the generational curse breaker. And here's the daily declaration: I am a legacy builder. What I create will outlive me. I am a legacy builder. What I create will outlive me. Thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you for the comments. If
Yes,
you're
indeed.
watching the replay, you got to catch this replay. It was an amazing nuggets.
Yep.
You are a legacy builder. What you create will outlive you.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, cuz, for coming on.
Much
Thank you
love,
all
brother.
for joining us. And like I always say, thank you for having a creative conversation with me. Be blessed. Peace.